Hey guys, Jengar here. Welcome to today's realistic review in which we are taking a look at the American P-38G-1 sitting at 3.3 battle rating. The Lightnings, man. I cannot stop loving these things. They are not the best at booming zooming. They are not the best energy fighters, but they are fun as hell to play as an interceptor with their air start. The climb rate they have, the weapons in the nose, a very tight beam of death, and it is just so much fun to fly these things. And they look awesome. I think this design is just magnificent. Whoever thought this up in the Second World War as a designer, I haven't checked that. I'm not a guy who checks that kind of stuff a lot, but and so I don't know the guy's name, but damn man. That's a touch of genius there. Maybe it was some kind of drug to think this thing up. It is such an outlier. Fantastic design. I love it. So yeah, let's not get my love for the looks of this plane and the way it's flown to cloud my judgment. I think it's a good plane. There is definitely competitors out there that you would fly ahead of this thing. An example is the United States Marine Corps Corsair that we reviewed the other day, or the other week. Time flies. I've had night shift, terrible. But that thing went to 3.0 and this thing is still at 3.3, while the Corsair is better in every area except the firepower in the cone of the nose is better, and this thing gets an air start. But for the rest, that Corsair is superior to this one. It sits at a lower battle rating, so why would you fly this Lightning? Well, because you love it like me, maybe. But also because it is fun to fly, and it gives a little bit of a different perspective. The Corsair, you really need to side climb, you need to wait a little bit longer, you need to be a little bit more patient. But with the air start and the climb rate that this thing has, you just can basically fly straight in on most maps. Some maps are big and some of the superb climbers out there can equal the altitude you can gain. But for the rest, this thing runs supreme when it comes to positioning. It is easy to position this plane because of its start. On most maps you will be the highest plane easily in any situation. But anyway, before we go into the details, do make sure to like this video if you enjoy it anywhere along the line. Do make sure to leave me a comment, I always enjoy that. And make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet. I just recently found out, I have found this out more often, it's the case for most channels, is that about 50% of the people that watch my content are not subscribed yet. Now if all those people would be subscribed, it would make me a happy man, right? Not that it matters that much, but if you haven't subscribed yet, do subscribe, become part of the club. We've got a lot more content coming. It is worth your while. Also, I want to ask you to join me on Locals and on Rumble. These are my backup channels. No, wait a minute. Rumble is my backup channel and Locals is my channel to share content with you about other stuff, non-War Thunder related stuff, personal stuff, but also stuff about political issues and stuff like that. So if you enjoy that, please do join me over there. Now let's get into the details of this fantastic plane. The maximum speed in the Lightning is 520 kilometers an hour at sea level without WEP and 545 with WEP. At 4,500 meters still go up to 488 without WEP and 515 without, and finally at 6,500 meters you can take her up to 460 without WEP and 468 with. Now the WEP definitely decreases power when you go to altitude in this plane comparatively to the Corsair that we reviewed the other day. That's a 20 kilometers an hour difference with and without WEP at 6,500 meters. You only have 8 in the P-38, so you can definitely conclude that the Corsair is superior on the higher altitudes than this plane. It's also superior in a dive. The top speed in a dive in this P-38 is 751 kilometers an hour before she redlines. And in a deep dive she can already rip apart at 720-ish. That is because of the drag and the resistance the wingtips can take. They cannot take that much, so if you are too steep in the dive, they can't handle the pressure and they will rip off from 720-ish onward. Now if you take the plane into a more shallow dive, you can take that up to 790 before she rips apart. And that is also not great. I mean, the Corsair was not rippable, and you can take her up to 800 plus before you crash into the ground or into the water. So that's a whole different ball game when it comes to diving and diving effectiveness. The P-38 is not great in long dives. Short dives are your game, and this plane is mainly an energy fighter because of that. It can boom and zoom, but you really have to watch your dive and what you're doing there, because it is very dangerous to be in a long steep dive in this plane. A long deep dive, sorry. Now control stiffening starts at 450, and the second tick in the aileron compression for rolling at 550. The rolling isn't great to start with, it's only average. And with these early ticks in the roll rate, you cannot really roll well to adjust on your target in a long dive as well. So it is not quite sufficient or effective in there. That's why you will see me doing a lot of energy fighting in the P-38. A lot of stall maneuvers, a lot of spiral climbs where I try to stall people out and then dive on them and get the jump on them, like this, for example. That's the name of the game in the P-38, energy fighting. It is a lovely plane to do it in. The control is really good in this plane, even when she's a bit slower. It's not terrible there. So yeah, I really love this plane when it comes to energy fighting. The stall speed in this plane lies at around 95 kilometers an hour. You have two powerful engines, but of course it is a weighty plane as well when it comes to that. But overall stall speed is quite good. Low speed handling is quite decent as well. Now firepower is very good, very good. You have a 120mm A&M2 cannon with 150 rounds for its gun, and you have 4 times 12.7mm M2 Browning machine gun with 500 rounds per gun. 500 rounds for those 50 cals is excellent ammo, and the 20mm cannon is also quite good. So it's excellent for the 50 cals. We had 400 in the Corsair for 4 guns, and you know, this is 500. Excellent ammo load, really great. You can also equip the plane with 6 missiles, but sorry, missiles. You hear me? Rockets. I mean rockets. It's not missiles. You need a little bit of a higher battle rating for that. My God. But 6 rockets if you want to go ground pounding. In ground RB, I guess you could do that. Although you know, you get the air start, you get the good climb rate, or very good. Why on earth would you go down to shoot rockets on some targets and then take the plane to an air-to-air roll? It is beyond me. In air RB, you should not take these rockets. Just leave them alone and don't waste your altitude. The performance in this plane when it comes to acceleration in a straight line, she's good. In a dive, she's very good. It's very nice. The energy retention in the horizontal is great. With web, when you come from altitude, she holds the speed very nicely. In the vertical, she's very good as well. She can really take you up into the energy fighting capability. Stall maneuvers are very nice to perform in this plane. She really outperforms a lot of planes there. So, and with the energy advantage that you have on most of the maps, she's great there. She really is great there. That's really where she shines as an energy fighter. Climb rate is very good with an air start, and with the climb rate she has, you basically only on the largest maps you will get beaten by some of the outliers out there, like the XP50, and some of the 109s will give you a run for your money, and there's a few other planes. There's also some other heavy fighters that would have decent climb rate, like the Hornet, for example. Only that doesn't lie in the reach of this plane, now that I think of it. Hornet, what is it again? 5.7, 5.3, I believe. Anyway, I'm babbling, man. Jesus Christ. But there is some heavy fighters with air starts that get in the neighborhood of this plane, and when that happens, you have to be a little bit more tactical in your setup to take that into account. Now, turn time in this plane is average, above average with flaps. The flaps are fantastic, by the way. They only rip off at around 630 kilometers an hour. which lies far above any maximum speeds in a straight line. And it's not that far off from the red line, so you can use those flaps basically as you want them. You just got to be careful in the longer dives, which is not where you want to be in this plane anyway, so you shouldn't have any flap problems there for this plane. The roll rate is also average, so the overall maneuverability in this plane is average to above average, in that range. Nothing terribly great, but well, if you're facing planes that are really having compression coming from a dive, like this Mustang here, then you can really still use maneuvers to you know, defeat them. It was very satisfying, by the way, to get this guy that was hanging above his airfield for a long time of this match, and finally I had to go for fuel shortage back to the base. Then he was above me, and then I could well, you will see, but I could have my revenge, let's say. Have my revenge. The overheating in this plane is present, but it is manageable because it cools off quickly as well, so I've not had any overcomable overheating in this plane. Durability is good. It can take a hit or two, and you have two engines. You have the pilot in the middle with the guns. It's quite a sturdy plane, except in those dives, man. Those wingtips, they cannot handle much stress when it comes to that. The repair cost in this plane is 2,927 silver lions, which is decent. It is not the best, but it lies somewhere in the middle, let's say, when it comes to repair costs at 3.3 battle rating. Somewhere in the middle. The rewards in this plane, you have a 280% modifier on the research points and a 180% multiplier on the silver lions. Now the RP booster is above average, and the silver lion one is only average. This plane is not really a shining example of great rewards when it comes to that. The modifiers or the multipliers, or however you want to call them, are just not good enough at 3.3 battle rating. Yeah, so, but that's okay. That's okay. The plane performs well enough to, you know, to excuse any lack of rewards. Maybe, I mean, Gaijin should do something about rewards anyway in ARB, by the way, and in the game in general, to make the grind a little bit more easy. But the game is so expansive these days with all the different modes and all the different vehicles you can unlock. It is an impossible task for people, even with spending money, man. So yeah, I would change that if I was Gaijin, but yeah, we talked about that too many times already. It doesn't really matter. They're not listening to us anyway. I found that out, and I had to lay that beside me. It's just the way it is. It's fine. It's their product, and I'm still enjoying it. So there we go. Now this plane, to be used as an energy fighter mainly. Energy fighting is the name of the game. So you can boom and zoom a little bit, but you have to be very, very careful in the lower ends of the dive. Actually, you don't want to come into the lower ends of any dive in this plane. You want to move out of your dive at 650-ish and make sure that you're out before 700. You want to be out of that dive, and if you are in a dive, it's got to be a shallow dive, not anywhere near that. If you are in a deep dive at 700, you're screwed. You're gonna rip off one of the wings. But for the rest, as I said, look at the positioning here. You gotta show a small profile, show the side of your plane, not the whole profile. When somebody's coming up for you, most likely you will survive. It's very difficult to shoot at that very narrow target, especially when you're stalling out, when you're helicoptering up, and you basically will get them like this. Half of your kills will come from stall maneuvers. If you play the P-38 correctly, it should be like that. And it's a joy. It's a joy. It's very rewarding and very satisfying to fly this plane when it comes to that. Now, for the belts are the same as the Corsair. Yeah, for the 50 cals, you have universal, ground, tracers, and stealth, all being viable. They have the setup in the belt that you might expect. The ground belt has more AP rounds, Universal has more API with more incendiary rounds. Stealth has a mix of incendiary AP and API, and tracer belts are full of tracers with one API shell there. So yeah, all four of those belts are great, and yeah, you should definitely look into the belts. They are whatever you prefer. We have Final Blow, Terror of the Sky, and Bulletproof, 26,000 silver lines and 7,000 research points. Hey guys, so here we are after the match, looking at this plane, man. I love it. I love it. Some people don't like the way this plane looks. I mean, I guess it's a matter of taste. I fucking love it. I think it looks brutal. I think it looks beautiful. I think it looks elegant. It has so much in it, but it's a brutal plane when flown correctly. These two massive engines, the firepower in the nose, the air start, the climb rate that you get. I mean, it's not a turn fighter. It's not great in a dive, but it's great as an energy fighter. And that's where she shines. It's a big profile, there is that, but there's a lot of holes, so people can miss you as well. For me, I have really enjoyed my revisit of the P-38s for this, working on the rank 2 review for the Americans. And I can definitely advise you to take a look at the Lightnings, man. They are so much fun as energy fighters. You just have to get that experience. It's awesome. As I said, the plane has enough to speak for it. The gun's centralized, it's a beam of death, you have two powerful engines, she's great in the vertical. She looks great. It's great to look at this plane while you fly it, so yeah man, overall just visit the Lightnings. There's nothing wrong with these planes, you just gotta use them intelligently. They're not great in a dive, you will rip wings, they cannot turn for the life of them, a little bit when they're faster, but there's so many planes that are better than this one when it comes to maneuverability. You got to move with this plane from a superior position, superior energy position, and you got to use it as an energy fighter. And as I said, about 50% of your kills should come from stall maneuvers. And if you do it like that, then this plane will be magnificent. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the review. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye. If you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button, become part of this community. If you are already a subscriber, don't forget to like the video, do leave me a comment, and if you really feel like helping out today, make sure to share the video with your friends and let them know about the channel.